Thank you, Chris. That was very brave. I'm hoping that that becomes a regular thing in this church where people give us a statement of their faith. In case you don't know, my name is Dr. Matt Vittucci. I'm president of the Leadership Council, and I am not up here to give a sermon. Instead, I hope to start a discussion. So after a short introduction, I will ask for audience participation. About a year ago, we started to talk about our vision of creating a beloved community. Two questions repeatedly came up as the idea percolated throughout the congregation. First, who does not want a beloved community? Second, what is a beloved community? We thought we liked it. We did not know, however, if we already had it, and if not, what changes would a beloved community require? Josiah Royce, an idealist philosopher, coined the phrase in the early 20th century. He defined it as a group where members accept each other as a community of hope. The Reverend Martin Luther King expanded that definition to a community where everyone is cared for and is absent of poverty, hunger, and hate. So what is a beloved community? First, it is a community that is open and affirming. It admits everyone without precondition and does not judge. Second, it is a community dedicated to the common good. Sometimes churches start with this position, but later judge anyone who questions their version of religious truth. Reverend Moranti pointed out that the early Christian church promoted their faith by creating beloved communities. These communities were an alternative to the Roman caste system. Romans oppressed anyone who did not fit their cultural norms. Mostly, they valued wealth, status, and success in war. In early Christian communities, outcasts like slaves, conquered people, the poor, the infirmed, and other marginalized individuals became children of God. A beloved community is an aspiration. It is easily said, but very difficult to create and maintain. We all want to be in groups of people like ourselves. The other can seem threatening and disturbing. Yet, in a beloved community, we comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Our nation is deeply polarized. Uncertainty and chaos seem to come from all directions. Pandemic, inflation, addiction, chronic pain, depression, random shootings, limited nuclear war, crime, downward mobility, and even losing our democracy seem to be the regular topics in our media. In response, we sometimes withdraw into online communities that create false safe spaces. Yet invariably, these communities end in social isolation. They can trigger our anger and fears, but they do not bring competing groups together in shared moral purpose. Historically, churches created shared moral purpose. In the future, churches could do it again. Normally, church attendance is below 50%, the lowest of my lifetime. Nationally, church attendance is below 50%. Yet 80% of the Americans still claim that they are spiritual. In times of great uncertainty and complex challenges, a loving spiritual community seems to be what most people want and what most people lack. Not just a traditional church congregation, but a group of faithful on a journey to listen to God speaking and find solace, hope, and inspiration. In my experience, when God inspired me, it simply sat there until I took action to bring the inspiration to life. I had to filter out my ego, preconceptions, and fears. When it was a true inspiration from God, Slowly, in baby steps, the resources appeared. Throughout the journey, the most challenging part was keeping my faith and trusting in the process. So, as I warned you, let's start a discussion. A beloved community begins when we listen to one another. So, if you want, answer either of these questions. What is God inspiring you to do? Or, how is this church supporting your faith? Anyone? Yes.
I know you guys met me way back in December, and I was going through horrible, horrible things. And you guys have been so, so wonderful to myself and my family. And we've had quite the journey to this point, and I wanted to thank everyone for their support. And I see that this community is willing to help those who need it. And even if it's just a hello, that's sometimes just enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy?
As I've said many times before, the very first day that I came to church here, was it 3 or 4 years ago now, I was welcomed with open arms. And I just love that envelope feeling. You know, it's like you guys just picked me up and put me inside of an envelope and sealed me in with love and care and all that. For beloved community, I think it's great. I'm not exactly sure how we go about getting people in, and that's not what this is all about. I know what my one problem right now is. I'm suffering, you guys know, from pain, but from really severe social isolation. And it's a lot of my own fault for not reaching out more to people for help. But and I know the church is there. And I'm not sure if this answers your question or not, but I would like to work at helping to build the community and bringing everybody together.
Ren?
Yes. When we say the Lord's Prayer each week, we say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So when I envision the beloved community, I envision us building the kingdom of God here on earth as it is in heaven. And that begins with us as this small community that we call church, but then it's also us taking what we believe and our good news that God is still speaking out to our community without judgment, but with love. So as Matt in his introduction said, you know, the beloved community is, it's not just for an elite, and it's not just for people who follow a certain way. Remember, God's love and grace is not something to be earned. We don't earn God's love and grace. It's a gift that's given to us freely. There's something different there's a difference between what you earn and what is a gift given freely. And unfortunately, there are many people that think God's love and grace is a reward that you earn, not a gift that you receive. Thank you.
Dan?
When I envision a beloved community, I think a lot about validation because that's something people lack across the board, from families to their workplace, even to being by themselves. And one of the things I really like about this church is that if you tell people what your hobbies are, what you do, you're not going to be given advice about like what you should be doing differently. Whereas let's say, I don't know, I've rode a lot of buses. And, I get to know the person next to me. And I usually get a bit of advice when I tell them, what I do and what I like and what's interesting to me. And I find that at church is a space where you're really not there to be told what to do, which is quite nice. There aren't many places where you're not going to be told what to do. I pause when I'm saying that because I just know so many situations where someone's like, "Oh yeah, you could lose a bit of weight, or you could do this a little better." And it's not that feedback is bad, but that in every place that we go, whether it's home, work, a restaurant, you can get feedback on something you're doing, and it's sometimes nice to have just a place to be yourself as opposed to being a little bit different than yourself. So that's what I think.
Amen. Anyone else want to share? Chris, I'll come around the other way.
We say a lot about being part of this community. And one thing that I always think about was, how do we help outside in the community? We don't always know what help is needed, but very often the help that we need to do is difficult to do. We've reached out and met with the people who are the other church who's helping the homeless. And we met with them, offered them something. It wasn't what they needed. So we tried, but it didn't work. So we also have tried other things in the community. We were part of neighborhood events, and we did not, I don't know whether we'll probably not do that again. It wasn't that successful. This year we're organizing a Pride event. We'll see how that goes and the sustainability of that for next year. Will it work? Will it not? We don't know. This is something that has been a community effort that has come into us, that has been offered. So another is we have been asked to use our kitchen. And LaShawn Hawkins, who organizes things for the disparate population in our community, she wanted to use our kitchen. She used it for a week and then we were shut down. I don't know if people knew about that. We're in the process of registering our kitchen with the New York State Health Department so people will be able to use it. The Salvation Army needed a place for meals. We are working with them to possibly be a place for the Salvation Army to serve meals. Will that be possible? I don't know, but it's something. This is, the community has said this is a need and we are trying to fill it. So we don't always know the answers. So it's a trial and error type of thing, but through the leadership team, these are things that have been discussed and have been working and we've been working on. Not everybody knows about it. Sometimes you get some of the story in the chimes, but you don't get it all. So I just wanted to make that, we're reaching out and it doesn't always work, but that is eventually it will click. So we'll see what happens. We are growing.
Yep, God is still speaking.
Hey, Matt, I'd like to speak. Matt?
Sure. Go ahead. Can we get him? That's done.
Yep.
Yes. I've got a different take on things as far as going out into the community and sharing and being part of a beloved community. Not that mine is any better, just kind of like an addition to. I believe that laughter is the best medicine, unless of course you have abdominal surgery, but that's a different story. But what? Yeah, see right there, laughing at other people's pain. Wow. Okay. Anyways, yesterday I made a point of stopping at just about every booth and not leaving until I got somebody to smile, sometimes laugh, even if it was at me. In fact, most of the times it is at me, but I don't care if people laugh at me, because I am getting more secure in myself. But it's important, okay, to share laughter, to create laughter, to just, because you really can't feel bad about much of anything with a smile on your face and laughter in your heart, that bubbles to the surface. And, I think it would help. I mean, not all by itself, but I think it would help with the some of the problems in the world. And, so if we could, smile more, say and do things that cause other people to smile, share more things that, at the time weren't so funny, but once we look back at it, we can all laugh. And, I think that helps relax people and get people to share and, help grow a community. And, I feel like I'm being called to do that. It's important to me. And, so I think that is, something that should be, at least, I guess, thought of as, as an instrument in the toolbox, so to speak.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just for our church, as we are all together, a family, and to think on once a month with Reverend Ralph, and our previous Reverend Ralph and a deacon would go to Willing Helpers Home to see where there are two ladies that are members of our church that are living there now, and many other ladies there, and they enjoy when we come and we sing hymns. Ann Lee Clow, which is one of our members from our church, continues to play the piano there for us. And it's another way of joining with our people that aren't able to come here. But of course, all the wonderful new technology with our Zoom and everything else, so we can keep a group here, our family are together, no matter how it is, either on the Zoom, Facebook, or when we go to other areas in the community.
Thank you, Dinah. I didn't say your name in case. Anyone else? Oh, Steve.
When you think about everything that's going on in the world right now, it can be very overwhelming. It can make your brain hurt. But I always fall back on the old saying that you can't save the world, but you can save just your little piece of the world. So that's what my mission is with this church, is to help our beloved community. And the community is local. With the food pantry, we have the Pride picnic coming up. Just want to show our support for the the alphabet soup.
Jake, you need to say it.
I'm sorry. I'm still learning. It gets, as you say, it gets more complicated every day, but you try your best, and that's all you can do is do your best. here's an example right over here, saving one little life. You can't save the world, but you can save one little life, one life at a time. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Anybody else?
Cindy.
I don't know if this is in the right spot to say it, but I know Kathy has come up with the idea of having a community dance or card games or something upstairs, and or like you said, opening up the kitchen and having our own meals or something. And I think that's a really good idea to bring in more people and see if that works.
Anyone else? Okay, wonderful discussion. My big fear here was I was going to ask for everybody to participate, and I just hear crickets, and we'd be sitting there. Thank you for not doing that. I'm sorry? She's giving out my secrets. I have a couple of closing questions. First of all, on the homeless, that's not a dead issue. We are reaching out to the new people that are taking over the Code Blue shelter from the city, and that's in the process. I intend to at least get involved personally, and I suspect our church is going to be more involved in that. And the other thing that surprised the heck out of me was the Pride Festival. Last year, we tried to have a Pride Festival, and it got nowhere. And thanks to Ralph being part of the Pride community, he really reached out to people he knew were in that community. I still wasn't sure it was going to work. And now people from the community took it over. That's the incubator church that I keep thinking we are. And when you look at our history, we've done that a lot. And we're not gonna stop doing that. From what I can see, I suspect homelessness and the Pride community are the next steps. But we've got picnics coming up, and we've got that wonderful pancake thing we did in the middle of winter. And as our internet, much promised, long delayed internet, is coming up, we're going to be able to do the reach a wider audience. And finally, the flags. You might have noticed that there are 2 flags out there that weren't there before. Hooray! We're going to keep putting flags up, and make this the statement that A, we are open, and second, we care about whatever that flag stands for, which in this case is our country's flag and the gay pride flag in the corner. And we're going to probably have other flags as we can afford them and buy them. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And now we'll do our final thing and let you go.